Well, students, now today let us come to the conclusion of Should Wizard Hit Mommy? We have seen that she was in reality phase and she wanted to know whether a particular thing was, she wanted to know whether it was real or not real. And also she at times laughed upon such things which were unreal. She knew that it was just but it's not so that she was quite able to differentiate between the real things and unreal things. No, the phase has just begun. Well, you see, everything happens that way as the formula of the story was, but when it came to an end, means when the smell was changed and the smell was that of roses. After that, Jove understood that it will be now the father's coming home and all that, but it was not like that, because Jack didn't want that ladies rather should take things for granted, that this girl should take things for granted. So he twisted the story and said that when the baby skunk came home, the mother was angry with the skunk because he was smelling not like the skunk. A skunk should smell like a skunk. Now here is the point of identity. Or you may say that everyone has a right to stick to his/her identity. So the skunk is also a creature and it should have its own identity. Why should the skunk smell like roses? You may say that the adult's viewpoint is like that, whereas young ones are fanciful. And so Joe thinks that the skunk should smell like the roses. So the mother of the skunk goes, strikes the wizard, hits the wizard, and asks him to change the skunk's smell again to that of a skunk. And wizard does so. But Joe is hurt at this. And she now wants that Jack should retell the story. He should tell the story next day another way and should say that wizard hit mommy and did not change the smell of the skunk and let it remain the smell of the roses, or again hit mommy and change the smell to that of roses, because with the roses smell he was getting acceptance among children, among young creatures, young animals. They wanted to play with him. However, Jack says that eventually they got adjusted to his smell, and in spite of his having the smell of a skunk, they allowed him to play. But Joe still insisted that the smell should be changed. The smell should be that of the roses rather than that of a skunk. In this way, the story goes ahead. Now, Dear students, there is a conflict in the heart of Jack. Jack's wife is utilitarian. In order to save some money, she is wearing an old shirt of her husband and is painting the furniture. She is expecting that George sleep and Jack would come and help her in doing that work. George didn't sleep. Still, however, Jack forced her to sleep, to keep quiet, and went to his wife. But now he doesn't want to touch his wife. He doesn't want to help his wife because the aesthetic idea of his daughter has caught him, and now he also thinks that way. That's the fragrance of the roses. That work could have been given to some laborer to do, some other one, some painter to do, who earns his livelihood doing that job. And they should have loved to remain fresh rather than wearing old shirt and brushing the furniture, painting it. Now on one side was his wife, on the other side was his daughter. And there is an objective correlative to it. Half of the furniture was new ivory and half was the old tan, a reddish type of color. So what you find of the writer says that Jack was caught in the ugly mid position. If you'd have been totally of utilitarian, that's one thing. If totally aesthetic, another thing. But in his family he had his wife who thinks one way and the daughter who thinks the other way. Half new ivory and half old tan. So this is the objective correlative of the conflict inside Jack's heart. Here let us conclude this, and it may be that if some queries you have, later on we can solve those problems. Okay, thank you.